shades between light and dark. He was essentially a man of action and wanted to force the issue of Indian independence with the British at once. Such a man was born on the morning of 23rd January, 1897. Subhas, the child of Janakinath and Prabhavati, was influenced by Swami Vivekananda's creed of service to humanity, and particularly to Mother India. In his boyhood, he was taught by Beni Madhav Das, the great teacher who instilled in his eager pupil the virtues of honesty and steadfastness to one's duty. Subhas was an avid reader, introspective, his mind turning in upon itself in a precocious concern for religious truth, self-control, and psychic harmony. But philosophy was not his congenial study. Though he was attracted to yoga and mysticism, there was in him a quick compassion for suffering humanity, and the conflict between mystic and man of action thus came early to him. Professor Samar Guha comments.
Netaji is the effulgent imager. Netaji is the image of the aspiration of free India. Netaji has been acclaimed by the Indian people as the greatest revolutionary, as the epical hero of our freedom struggle. But he is more than that. In his inner self, he describes himself not as a politician, not as a revolutionary, but as an Indian pilgrim who merged his whole identity in the mission of India, which he all along his life believed that India has a mission to fulfill, not for herself alone, but for the greater world community. India lived the centuries of life and carried a cultural heritage of her own, which reflects in our philosophy of synthesis. Synthesis of spiritual and material values.
Persuaded by his elders to sit for the ICS examinations, he went to England and was successful. But he resigned from the ICS on the 22nd of April 1921 to leap into the boiling cauldron of freedom struggle. Characteristically, he explained his move. National and spiritual aspirations are not compatible with obedience to civil service conditions. In 1921, Subhas Bose went to Bombay and plunged into political work after a meeting with Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, Subhas preferred selfless service to selfish ambition. His political guru was Deshabandhu Chittaranjan Das. In April 1924, Subhas Bose became the Chief Executive Officer of the Calcutta Corporation. At about this time, the political situation in India became worse. The Indian determination to do without the British met with stiffer resistance from the imperial masters. Not only did the British deny that they would leave India in the foreseeable future, their conduct gave no hint of withdrawal. The British believed in treating Indian nationalism with a firm hand. This was the atmosphere of Subhas Bose's entry into Indian politics in 1921. His appeal to the youth of the land was enormous. It was from the ranks of the young that he recruited more visionaries and patriots to forge the strong links of national independence. In 1924, he was arrested as one of the suspected terrorist leaders, and in 1925 was transferred to the fort of Mandalay in Burma. In June, he mourned the sudden death of C.R. Das. This was a cataclysmic loss to Bose, as never before he was on his own. After serving as the GOC of the Congress, of which Motilal Nehru was the president, he became the mayor of the Calcutta Corporation. He said, "Civic progress all over the world is moving in the direction of municipal socialism. The real school of democracy is local self-government." In 1932, he was exiled to Europe. He went to Vienna for the medical treatment recommended by his doctors. There, Bose met Mr. Vittalbhai Patel, a great congressman and patriot. At the end of 1934, Bose flew to India to see his ailing father, but reached home too late to see him alive. And he sailed again to Europe on January 10th, 1935. During this year, his health was generally restored, and by its end, the urge to re-enter the struggle in India was irresistible. Bose returned as Congress president in 1938. At the age of 41, he became the president of the Congress, and his reputation as a political leader was second to none. Subhas Bose realized the necessity of Congress unity, but at the same time, he meant to mold its policy if he could. He was a rebel president of the Indian National Congress, but by April 1939, he had come to the parting of ways. Rabindranath Tagore, the national poet, conferred on him the title of Desha Nayak, or savior of the land. Meanwhile, war clouds had gathered over Europe, and Britain was involved in a titanic struggle for the might of the German Empire. Bose applied Tilak's formula and said that Britain's difficulty was India's opportunity. On July 2nd, 1940, Netaji was arrested and sent to the presidency jail. But he had to get out of prison. He announced he would starve himself to death. He declared, "Release me, or I shall refuse to live." So daring a protest could hardly fail. Bose was allowed to go home, where he planned his great escape from India. In the early hours of 17th January, 1941, a car drew up before his residence, and accompanied by his nephew, Sisir, he escaped.